So I'm not gonna get into it again. You know what this thing with the Siamese twin is. You know... Wait. Something feels off. Have I done this before? Hold on. Am I even reading the right script? Blank, blank, blank. All these pages are blank. What the...
Huh? What are you doing here? I told you to stay out of this. That's what you're supposed to say, right? Wow, the place looks real nice. Did you do this all yourself? Good job.
It's you.
In the flesh. What? This isn't following your little plan? Crazy things happen, dude. Get used to it.
What do you want?
Oh, the usual. Just wanted to break this little... thing you've made. You told me I wasn't worth shit and said I should fade away. Plus, I know that one time was just you in costume, and for the record, your impression was terrible. Oh yeah, and before you ask how it's been in the void, it sucks ass. This is just payback.
You little...
Karma's a bitch, buddy.
Wait, why wasn't that censored out?
Oh, right. I might have done some... tampering. I should mention to all the kids, this isn't gonna be a family-friendly episode.
No. Get a hold of yourself. Look, you can make my life hell another time, but right now I have a show to run. I'm gonna have to ask you to leave.
A show? And what audience do you have?
I'm still working on that.
You know what? I'll go a little easier on you today. You like games, right? Specifically, you like to run your little mouth about them. How about you talk about this one?
Ah! You get that thing away from me.
So you refuse?
Yes!
What if I said I would leave if you did?
Still yes!
Fine. You give me no other option.
What, you'll shoot me? I should really stop ending sentences like that.
Just suck it up and do it.
Over my dead body! Oh.
Here, I'll start for you. Drawn to Life, the next chapter, Wii, was not developed by Fifth Cell, but instead by One Planet Moon Studios. It was announced alongside the DS counterpart on the 26th of May, 2009. But this game was more than just a simple port. Now, you do the rest.
I don't think I have to explain what the Wii was, since in the most literal sense possible, everyone and their grandmother had one. But in case you missed it, it was Nintendo's new console that flaunted motion control as its main gimmick. And for whatever reason, they thought it was a good idea to put a drawn-to-life game on it. The game had a completely different plot to the next chapter and was confirmed by Slajka to be non-canon. The game wasn't received very well, even amongst fans it's considered the worst in the series. But let's find that out for ourselves. No.
Yes.
Ugh. This music makes me irrationally angry. So right after you make a new save, you punch in your name and it's time to go. Just like in the first game, you're told about the creation of the world, and once again, you take part in it. You draw the planet, the sun, and the moon, and now we're playing Drawn to Life Wii. Ever since Will Free's defeat in the first game, and yes I know, it's Will Free, not Will Fur, the village was at peace. Until things around the village started disappearing, and to make matters worse, the Book of Life was stolen again. So now it's time to make a hero to save the village. I mean, this is the point of the whole game. They didn't make it that bad. Right?
12 seconds later.
Holy shit, I'm gonna be sick! So unsurprisingly, the drawing has changed quite a bit going from the DS to the Wii. You draw using the Wiimote and... this doesn't feel good at all. The cursor moves too much and slides all over the place, which makes drawing what you want a task. The remote is either too sensitive or not sensitive enough. So if you want to put effort into your drawings, I've got bad news for you. Not to mention, the buttons on the UI are so tiny, you might misclick something by accident or miss what you were trying to select entirely. On another note, there are a couple new additions, namely the Shape tool. You can also move where the hero's limbs are positioned and pivoted. Great addition. Guides are here too, but you don't get an onion skin to draw over like in the DS games. So we've got drawing mechanics that aren't fun. This is foreshadowing. After you finish creating God's Mistake, you and Cersei, Mary's secretary, go to look for Crazy Barks, since he was last seen with the book. He doesn't have it, so that means it was stolen by someone else. Now you gotta look for the culprit, return the book, and run errands for the villagers. That's it! That's the game!
Come on, there's more to it than that. What about the gameplay, the levels, the visuals, the world?
I hate you.
That's reasonable.
But he's right. There's a bit more to this, but I'll touch on that later. I've already talked about how I feel towards the drawing, so how about the controls? This game requires both the Wiimote and nunchuck. Whoa, getting a little frisky there now, are we? Use the thumbstick to move, the A button to jump, B button to do your melee attack, but hold the B button in air and you'll do a ground pound. C button on the nunchuck is to interact with pretty much everything except the level select. You have to select what level you want to go to with the A button. Maybe I can get behind why they did this, because God forbid you jump while talking to Farmer Brown. You can double jump and it functions like it did in the DS game where you have both jumps in midair. I found it a lot less useful here. You can slide by holding down on a slope or pressing down and A at the same time. You can't crouch or look up, which was kinda weird. The camera zoomed out pretty far, but there were times where I wouldn't see something or I'd see where a pit would lead and I'd end up dying or taking damage. The camera itself acts pretty weird too. Sometimes it won't zoom out unless you're standing right where it zooms out, and it gave me a hard time during some sections. Unlike its DS counterpart, the game follows what the first game did and gives you different upgrades for each world. I personally wasn't the biggest fan of this approach in the first game since I felt like it limited the level design possibilities, but let's see what we have here. Up first is the tail, and lets you latch onto these tail posts and swing around. You hold the thumbstick in the direction you want to go and jump to let go. You see, I didn't know that initially. At first I thought you had to rotate the thumbstick to spin then jump off at the right time. I mean, so many platformers have things like this, I kinda just assumed. But you're probably wondering, Rove, how'd you mess this up? Well, look at this animation. What about this tells me I'm supposed to hold the control stick in the direction I want to go? Yeah, there's a tutorial after it introduces the swinging mechanic, but imagine if they didn't put this here or you missed it entirely. This animation still conveys the wrong information. Anyway, next is the claws. These let you latch onto these walls that have these wood beams on them, and then you jump to let go. These weren't too bad. My main issue is how slow you move on the ceiling, and there were also times where it just wouldn't let me cling to a wall even though I could. Then there's the sword. This is literally a cosmetic. It basically just gives you a new attack animation. The ice skates... Dear God. So the level you get them in is the ice level, meaning there's gonna be ice physics. But the ice skates just completely negate that. So if that's the case, then what's the point of having ice physics in the first place? Plus, when I first got them, I thought they kept you from falling off ledges, but turns out that was a bug. Next is the wings, and these basically act like the wings in the first game. It just gives you an extra jump, and you can hold the A button in midair to glide. And last but not least, the shooter. It works like all other shooter weapons, just press B to fire. The controls aren't horrible. There's definitely worse stuff out there. It's just kinda... But it's playable, so I'll give it that.
But you know what they say, it's not a Wii game without forced motion controls.
Please leave. But yes, there are motion controls. Action drawing makes a return, only this time instead of being limited to a section in the middle of the level, it's just about fucking everywhere. Inside these dotted lines, you can action draw. The color of the dotted line determines what color ink you can use. Blue ink creates normal platforms, and green ink creates bouncy platforms. Red ink is where it gets interesting, though. I thought it was just gonna be a falling platform. You know, a platform that starts falling when you land on it. Instead, anything you draw with red ink is immediately affected by physics. I thought that was pretty neat. Anyway, you draw with the B button and undo with the Z button. Keep in mind you have to control your character while drawing, and there will be enemies. So you can't focus on the drawing most of the time, and also can't attack since drawing takes priority over attacking with the B button. So awkward to do this while moving, and platforms automatically get destroyed if something like an enemy or the player is in the way. So situations like this really suck. However, you can make a line intangible by holding the B button. This I didn't know till I got to the third world of the game. Just like the previous two, there are 4 worlds altogether, and just like the first game, they're all different themes rather than being their own towns and villages. There's Jungla, Shadow City, Icy Waste, and Eastern Winds, but they can all just be summed up as Jungle World, Shadow World, Ice World, and Sky World. Out of all these, Shadow City is the most unique. It's based on the final area from the first game, but what once was a bustling city is now a deserted wasteland. I think that's a really cool bit of environmental storytelling. As for the levels, since you're basically running errands for the villagers, the main goal of each stage is to find a few things, then get to the end. I should mention you can't even get into the levels until you talk to the villagers who need you to find whatever they need, but sometimes they won't even be related to the main quest. Yeah, Crazy Barks has gone missing, but sure, I'll find these 10 random monkeys for you. Once you're in a level, you can't leave until you complete set objectives. And yes, I mean every objective. So you could run through a level in record time and the exit would say, sorry fuckhead, you didn't get enough seed bags. I mean, yeah, in the first game they would do this too, but the levels were segmented. You couldn't move on to the next segment until you found everything. So yeah, you would have to backtrack, but not through the entire level. At least make some of the side objectives optional so you don't have to have both to get out of the level. And when you give the player side objectives like this, maybe spice up the deal with a reward, like little collectibles to show off to your friends or your own room you can decorate with your creation. Not to mention, they tend to drag on, so it would give me at least some motivation to play them. Well, that ends my little tangent. Let's see what else we have here. So just like in the previous two games, there are canvases in the levels where you have to draw something to help you progress, yada yada yada, you know the drill by now. But here's the thing. I say help you progress with a giant asterisk. Because more often than not, what you draw is just a part of the background. Look, I can see the appeal here. I get the whole appeal of the game is to see your drawings in the game, and I agree with that. It's really fun to run around with a character you handmade with objects also made by you. I would like this a lot more if they didn't fuck up the drawing. Usually, I would just use a guide, and when I wasn't, I would put zero effort into it. God, these things show up so damn often. Just drew something? Sucks. Draw more. I think this game carried over a problem I had from the first game. There would be two separate drawings that served the same purpose, only difference would be the name and appearance. That was fixed in the next chapter, but it comes back here in full force. Mainly in the form of the vehicles. There are 2 cars and 2 air vehicles. I grouped them together because they all control the same, they mostly function the same, and they're all equally jank. All you do with these things is move with the thumbstick, spam the accelerator with A, and shoot with B. What the actual fuck was the point of having a gun on a car that kills everything it runs over in one hit? What was the point of having an accelerator on the air vehicles if moving anywhere but up makes you go faster? I understand if it was a cost-cutting measure to save on resources, but come on! This was the laziest way to do it. Honestly, I think the best move would have been to just remove the vehicles entirely. They aren't fun to control and don't really add much to the levels outside from giving you a reason to draw more. This game is gonna be the death of me. Well, what about the bosses? They might be good. There's one boss in the whole game, excluding the final boss. It's 3 phases long, and all you do is attack its food while it tries to grope you. It's about as interesting as I make it sound. So how about them visuals, huh? So unlike the previous two, this game uses 3D models, taking advantage of the Wii's better processing power. The level scenery and village look fine, just kinda generic, like they went to the Unity asset store and searched for 3D platform game assets. The music feels very generic, too. David J. Franco, who did the previous games, was working on the DS counterpart, so this game had a different set of composers. Those composers being Dave Levison, Chris Remo, Bill Storkson, and Rich Vreeland. This game's soundtrack isn't as good as the previous game, but it has its moments. The level select theme is a really nice chill track, and I find Jongula's theme often stuck in my head. I like the harsher tone of Icy Waste's theme, and the theme for a shop is a banger. But for all those highs, there are a few lows. The drawing theme sounds really cluttered and confused. I'm not a fan of Shadow City's theme. The harpsichord felt like they were trying too hard to make this the spooky world. Creation Hall's theme isn't this grand church-like theme I've come to expect. Instead, it has this weird psychedelic vibe to it. This also ties into the story cutscenes. Music is a very powerful tool. It can make people feel a certain way or set the tone of the scene. Drawn Wii says no to that and keeps the same cheery town music for every single cutscene. But the worst of it all has to be the Raposa. I can see what they were going for. They were trying to resemble the overworld sprites from the games rather than the official art. They all use the same base model and the same canned animation.
Oh, come on. It can't be that. Oh, no, that's just uncanny.
Not to mention, they changed the design for so many villagers. For whatever reason, they gave Heather a gavel and it's never brought up. They also made Zasha a master thief, bright purple, because who needs to blend in at night? And with the way things are going, you can probably tell that the characters won't be that good this time around either. Cutscenes are usually 2 to 3 lines long with that same jolly, fun village music. Even then, no one really has anything interesting to say. They'll even stop you in the middle of levels to say something pointless, then leave. There are a couple new characters like DJ and Erica. There's also Mary's aforementioned assistant, Cersei. And I think she's pretty cool, but that's all about I can really say. So let's move on to the final boss and ending, as well as get into the story. So, spoilers ahead. Actually, you know what? Who cares? This game sucks. You know it sucks. I'm gonna leave the time here anyway. Let's do it. So I guess there's a bit more to being the village errand boy. You see, in each world, you collect one of the 4 magic MacGuffin. They assume that since shadow creatures are popping up all over the place, Wilfrey's been revived. But it turns out, Cersei, who was in love with Wilfrey, was actually trying to gather them so she could draw Wilfrey back into existence. She tries to draw him, but is having a hard time. Probably because she's drawing with a Wiimote. Finally, someone who understands my pain! She can't remember what Wilfrey looked like, and in a fit of rage, created the giant scribble monster and the dark mannequin. First of all, I kinda saw it coming. Cersei drops here and there how she thinks the creator is dumb and stupid and can't draw, so it makes sense. Plus, the shadowy figure you see in some levels just... Guys! Second of all, this fight is flat out confusing. At the start of the fight, the head of the mannequin flies off. What you're supposed to do is melee attack it 3 times, then after that you have to ground pound the main body. So there are some issues here. For one, I did not know you had to melee the head. There is no indication of this. It doesn't have a hitbox, let alone any collision. And why would I melee? This thing is stubby as hell. I'm not gonna be hitting anything with that. Now, when you have to ground pound it, the body has collision, but if you jump on it, it acts like a normal platform. What about this tells me I have to ground pound? And you do this while Satan over here tries to swat you out of the sky. You beat the boss, the village is saved, Joey asks, what now? Fireworks and credits. So the game's bad. So much of this game is pointless, it's not fun, it's buggy, and on top of all that, fans pretend like it doesn't exist. It's almost as if I was holding myself at gunpoint to play this.
Hey, stick to the script.
Now, I've been doing nothing but complaining for the past 17 odd minutes, so let's end this on a high note. For one, I like the concept of Cersei. I think it's really interesting to have a character linked to Wilfrey in this way. I also like what they did with the action drawing, especially the red ink. I thought that was really cool. I just think it could have been handled better. Now, at the end of the day, I didn't like this game, but I can accept that because of the Wii's large install base, it probably got a lot of people into the series. If you grew up with this and you like it, hey, more power to you. But with that being said, I've been Phanto Rove, and I'm glad I don't have to talk about this game anymore. Peace out. There, I played your dumb game. Happy now?
Overjoyed, actually.
Glad to hear it. Now leave.
Buddy. You see, I can't do that.
What?
I hate to explain my motives, but that whole spiel about beat the game and I'll leave, that was just a diversion. It kept you busy while I took over this world you've made. Did I mention I'm taking this place to hell?
Oh no.
Oh well.
What's your problem? First you want to kill me, next you want to destroy the things I care about. What do you have against me?
Like you wouldn't know.
Because I don't.
Oh really? You just forgot about all the shit you put me through? The amount of times that you cast me aside, told me I was nothing to you? Hell, every time I wanted to talk, you end up going right for the button. You're probably waiting for the perfect opportunity to go for it as we speak.
What are you talking about?
Don't play dumb with me!
I genuinely have no clue what you're saying.
That's so. Now look, you've made me lose my temper for the last time. I'm tired of you not cooperating, so I'm taking matters into my own hands.
You son of a bitch!
That makes 2 of us. Anyway, I'll see you around. Or not.